how did I go from this shy, introverted IT person who was stuck in his old job to being a full-time coach who's transforming people's lives now? If you've been stuck at your current level for more than a few years and you're ready to level up to your next level, this video is for you. I wanted to share with you what worked for me on my journey in self-development and personal development. And so if you've been learning about mindset and manifestation and neuroscience and all these cool things, but you're still at the same level you've been at, then it's not a coincidence that you're here watching this video. I was stuck for nearly 20 years in my life, and I want to break out what helped me get past it and transform my own life, and what led me to become a coach and help others do the same. So before I started coaching, I was actually in corporate America, and I was an IT professional at my old job for nearly 20 years. And it was actually a really great job. I got paid really well. I worked with some awesome people. But I came to a point in my career where I kind of just hit a wall. And I'm like, I've been doing this for so long. And I remember sitting on my couch about 15 years ago thinking, is this all there is? At that time in my life, I felt like I was a slave to my alarm clock in the morning, and I dreaded getting up early. I'm not really a morning person, and so getting up early and setting my alarm, having to commute in every day, that was torturous to me. And I did that for 19 years at my old job. Well, something really cool happened about 10 or 11 years ago, and it actually started with a huge pain point in my life, and it had to do with my health. And at that time in my life, I was in the worst health and worst shape of my life. And this was in my 30s. In my 20s, I suffered from seasonal allergies, but it turned into chronic debilitating allergies in my 30s, where I had to take a nose spray like Nasacort every single day for years and years actually. And if I didn't take my Zyrtec pill every day, I'd have a dull headache and feel like a complete zombie every day. So that was getting to be such a pain in my life, and it was really challenging me because we had 2 kids at the time, and so I was working full time at a job that I didn't love anymore. We had the 2 kids, so I felt like I was stuck in my life. And I don't know if you've ever felt like that, or maybe you feel like that right now to some extent. But this is what happened for me, and this was the catalyst that led me to the life I'm living now as a full-time coach. And what's interesting about this is I've dissected this many times over, and I've come down to the exact recipe that I took in order to make my shift and transform into my next level. And this happened with my health at first, where I lost 30 pounds in 3 months using a whole foods plant-based diet was my vehicle. And I did this, became a holistic health coach, taught other people to do the same. And we've had some tremendous success stories with some of my clients losing over 160 pounds, 140 of which in 1 year. But with that said, my very first transformation and life shift was going from being an employee to being a self-employed coach in what I'm doing now. And that transition was a significant shift because I literally went from a shy, introverted IT person into being a speaker and a coach and a person who records videos now. And I've come out of my shell, and now I'm here to help other people make significant shifts in their life. And that's my calling, that's my obsession. This is what I do, right? And so how did I go from this shy, introverted IT person who was stuck in his old job to being a full-time coach who's transforming people's lives now? So the very first transformation I had was in my health. And so when I lost the weight for myself, learned how to do it very effectively, restored my energy and vitality to that of a teenager again, and I taught my clients how to do the same, that was the very first transformational shift I had in my life. And at that time in my life, I became a part-time coach while working at my full-time job. Well, my next shift happened in 2019, about 7 years ago at this point. And that was when I left my 20-year career to become a coach full-time. And that was another significant transformational shift that I had. And doing that helped me level up the type of coaching I was providing people. And now I'm a full transformation coach for people who are trying to get to their next level and embody that version of themselves. So it's very heavily rooted in identity and embodiment work, because those just happen to be the domino that knocks over all the other dominoes that you need to in your life in order to transform and get to your next level. So on today's video, I wanted to share this with you and share with you exactly what I did to get from where I was to my next level on many occasions, and now what I help other people do on a full-time basis. So if that sounds good, make sure you like this video and let's jump right into it, okay? So when I was at my old job and I was miserable, I was in the worst shape of my life, I was suffering from chronic allergies to the point where I couldn't even mow my lawn because I would blow up with a sinus infection. That's how bad my allergies were. So it was literally debilitating me, and I had had enough. In fact, that's the very first step in true transformation, is being very sick and tired of your current circumstances. To the point where that propels you and motivates you very deeply to make a significant change in your life. Or to want to make a significant change in your life, okay? So write this down if you're really tracking with me here today. Step number 1 is, how sick and tired are you of your current circumstances? And if it's not a 10 out of 10, or even 11 out of 10, you're probably gonna stay stuck a little while longer, because in my own experience and with coaching hundreds of people, you have to get to a point where you are done with your current circumstances and you are tired of living in the identity that you have been in for many years. Okay, just from my own experience, just giving it to you raw. Can you make a significant shift ahead of time maybe? If you are not in tremendous pain? Yes, you absolutely can, but it's just a little bit harder to motivate yourself into making the powerful enough decision to actually see it through. So that automatically leads me into step number 2. You have to make a life-changing decision, a committed, powerful decision that you are no longer going to be the version of you that you've been thus far. That is step number 2, okay? So number 1, traditionally, you are sick and tired of being the version of yourself. In fact, you're so sick and tired, it automatically leads you to step 2, which is you make a powerful decision to no longer accept that in your life. Okay, hope you're tracking with me so far. If so, and you're liking this, again, throw a like on this video and let's keep it going, right? So once you make a powerful decision, you tend to automatically take powerful action that coincides with that decision. Let me describe exactly what happened for me so that you'll know exactly what to expect, okay? When I made the decision that I was sick and tired, totally fed up with the state of health I was in about 10, 11, 12 years ago at this point, I looked around my house and threw away every junk food, chocolate chip cookies. In fact, that's what triggered this whole thing, is I saw the soft batch chocolate chip cookies on my counter and I went to reach for a handful of them. I would take those things out in like rows. Well, I started to pick up the cookie and I'm like, if I put this in my body, I am just going to continue to contribute to being the version of myself I don't want to be anymore. And I have another more powerful and deep idea that I'll just share with you briefly here, because that's a whole nother video, quite honestly. But I lost my dad at a very young age to pancreatic cancer. And so in my mind, at the time I'm reaching for this cookie, I'm like, you know, if I eat this cookie, I'm also gonna die young like my dad did. My dad died at the age of 42. And it's kind of crazy because I'm 44 now, so I actually surpassed his life. That was another thought that was going through my head, is if I eat this cookie, it's gonna contribute to my death, in other words, is really how powerful these thoughts were at the time. And so what I did, I took them, threw them in the trash, took my trash can out, and literally walked around the house and dumped all the garbage. The chips, the cookies, everything. Even though my kids were still eating them, threw them away. I didn't want them in the house anymore. I was so fed up with feeling so sick and tired and being sick and tired, I was done with it. So that is step number 3, is you take a powerful action that reinforces and validates the decision you just made. Okay, so that's step number 3. If you can do this with whatever is going on in your life, That's the very first step in shifting your life's trajectory in a very significant way, okay? From there, we have to become more familiar with our new identity. So continuing on with my health example here, I knew I had to become somebody who appreciated eating healthy and really prioritized nutritious meals and his health. And so what that meant for me is actually eventually becoming a health coach. In fact, I became a certified holistic health coach and a plant-based nutritionist on my journey at that time in my life. And that, to me, helped me embody that version of myself. But that's step number 4, is you have to embody the new identity that you are shifting into. If you can do that, you are well on your way to being that next version of yourself. Why people fail and why people fall back is this step right here. They don't fully acclimate themselves to their next level identity. They don't become that version of themselves all the way, which is why commitment is such a big deal, where you have to make a committed decision that you are not going back. You got to burn the bridges and burn the boats. You've got to go all in on your next level identity and literally leave the old you behind. This is where most people fail. I've got news for you. I've been doing this for 10 years. I've seen it so many times over again. My most successful clients, they've burned all their boats, burned all their bridges. They don't go back, in other words. You have to go all in on your next level of identity. Get very familiar with it. Get more accustomed to it. Get more comfortable being uncomfortable, because at first it's going to be very uncomfortable. You're going to be taking new actions that are not familiar. If you're leveling up in your business, the same exact thing is going to occur. You're going to be having different types of conversations, probably a lot more of them as well, with new potential clients, and it's going to be very uncomfortable at first. In order to break past it though, you've got to become more familiar with that version of yourself. How does that version of you feel? What are they thinking about? How are they showing up? What is their posture? Like, really embody this, right? That's exactly what I teach in my programs and in my coaching. How do you actually embody this? How do you actually regulate your nervous system to be comfortable in that next level, right? You're operating from that version of yourself. You're not thinking about it, you're thinking from it, right? It totally changes your perspective. And that's exactly what we do. And so that's actually step 5, is working on embodying your new identity. You have to become familiar, and it's going to take time. I've got news for you. I have developed a system that helps people do it in 4 to 8 weeks. But even then, sometimes people take a little bit longer, and that's okay. Again, it all comes down to if you go all in or not. That's the determining factor. And I've got news for you. You can take new action all day long, but until you actually embody and you become that version of yourself, and you are comfortable in the skin of that version of yourself, you will simply fall right back down to your old identity, because you literally cannot sustain actions that are outside of your current identity. You just can't do it. It's the law of sustainability. You cannot sustain actions that are in direct conflict with your current identity. Well, if you can really get into this idea with me here, it's going to change your life forever. I've got news for you. You've got to become more familiar with that next level version of you. How I teach this to my clients is we give yourself a title. You connect with it at a visceral level. So in other words, I am a plant-based power lifter. That is my current identity in regards to my health. For you, if you can come up with a title, a description of that identity, basically your desired identity's new name, okay? What describes that version of you best in like just a few words, maybe even one word, right? Powerful, confident, right? Whatever that is, whatever resonates with you is what you want to choose, okay? Then from there, once you've fully adopted and accepted this new identity for yourself, and you know you do this when you've regulated your nervous system among it and at that level, and now operating from that level is no longer a challenge for you, Now you establish the new habits and routines and all that stuff that is going to carry you through all the way to the result that you're looking to create. So that is the exact roadmap at a very high level of how I made the most significant transformations and shifts in my life, how my clients do it, and it's the exact process in what I coach people through. And so if this was helpful for you, please drop a like down below. But if you want to go even further, then drop the word evolve in the comments below, or message me directly if you're in contact with me, and I'll tell you more about this new experience that I've created that helps people actually embody their next level faster than ever before. And it started as what I called embodied manifestation, and it has now evolved into a next level experience for people. So if that's of interest to you, just simply comment evolve below or message me directly and I'll tell you more about it, okay? With that though, thank you so much for sharing a little bit of time with me today. Appreciate you, and I appreciate your support on my channel. I'm actually hearing my kids getting off the bus right now, and I've got to go get them into the house. So with that, I'll see you in the next video, and thanks again for watching.